Today we'll be reviewing Lesson 19, Love the Nature. After a brief introduction, we'll review the atmosphere, water, soil, tree, forest, birds, and human beings and body ecology. The earth is a beautiful house that God has prepared for us to live in. The possibilities and problems that happen in this house are also our possibilities and problems. We must ensure the safety of the earth. The earth is estimated to be about 4.5 billion years old, but living things seemingly didn't appear until 3.7 billion years ago. Human beings did not appear on Earth until about 300,000 years ago. Before that, for about 40 million years, the center of life was the ocean. Life began in the water. Before the inception of life, the earth was a kingdom of minerals. The plant world was created from the mineral world. It is with the minerals and salts the constituent elements of the bodies of plants were formed. If the minerals were made to be the food of plants, they are to be transformed into organic matter. Millions of kinds of unicellular beings incessantly work on the minerals and transform the mineral world into living soil. In 1 gram of living soil, there exist several millions of minute living beings. The share of these atomic beings in transforming the mineral into animal kingdom cannot be replaced by anything else. God has chosen to create the plant kingdom from the soil. The first creatures of the plant kingdom, from algae to the big trees, absorbed the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere for millions of years and increasingly pumped out oxygen. This increased the ratio of oxygen in the atmosphere and made it suitable for animals to live in. Then God gave existence to the animal kingdom. At the end, human beings were created. A person who takes birth as a unicellular being obtains the elements for growth for his and her body from the earth. Thus, the human being who takes his or her own origin from the earth returns to the earth and becomes part of nature, lives depending on the earth. If there is no nature, there is no human being. The health of nature is the health of the human being. The atmosphere came into existence in today's ratio through the plant world, beginning from algae, having increasingly pumped oxygen into the atmosphere for millions of years. In the atmosphere, it is 21% of oxygen area-wise and 46% of oxygen weight-wise. That is the life breath. The green leaves are the medium for sending oxygen freely into the atmosphere from carbon dioxide. This process is photosynthesis. Nitrogen is another necessary element required for the production and continuance of life. 78% of the atmosphere is nitrogen. The structure of the atmosphere is necessary for the sustenance of life. The minute beings have a great share in transforming nitrogen of the atmosphere into nitrate, suitable for plants to take in as food. Through lightning and thunder, tons of nitrogen is merged into the soil of the earth. The algae and other plants absorb them into minute tissues, and in course of time they turn as part of the body of the beings which eat them. The structure of air is necessary for the sustenance of life. However, through atmospheric pollution, the structure is destroyed. Our atmosphere becomes contaminated through the burning of fossil fuels. In the third world countries alone, about 700,000 people inhale poisonous air of the atmosphere and die, being affected by asthma and other bronchial diseases a year. Fatal diseases like cancer and asthma are on the increase in industrial cities. Every year, more than 1 billion tons of carbon is being increased in the atmosphere by large-scale industries and vehicles alone. The balanced state of the atmosphere, brought about by the plant world after working for millions of years, is destroyed by human beings within a short span of 200 years. 2/3 of the face of the earth is covered by oceans. The matter God chose first for creation is water. Later on, life reached the dry land and the atmosphere. The life of a place is the continuation of that of another place. The basis of life on the land is the life of the ocean. Russian scientist Eugene I. Rabinovich discovered that the plants of the dry land pump out about 400 billion tons of oxygen into the atmosphere. This comes to only about 10% of the oxygen that the atmosphere gets. The remaining 90% comes from the ocean and is produced by algae, seaweeds, as per the discovery of the scientists. Water is never made anew. Once it is poisoned, it is dangerous forever. Today, the spring of life turns into centers that sow death. The water we drink today has been drunk and dispelled for millions of years by others. After decay, by passing through many beings, it has reached us as pure and portable. Industrialization has poisoned the whole sea. All our ponds, streams, and rivers are already poisoned with chemical manures and pesticides that we use for agricultural farms. The fish we eat contain fatal metals like mercury, cadmium, and lead in dangerous levels. The pesticides and soaps we use also poison the water. The tea, coffee, squash, and juice, etc. are contaminated by adding chemicals with water and color for taste. Soil is formed by the work of minute beings in the mineral world. It is these minute beings who break the organic matters and merge them in the soil. Organic matter becomes food for plants through this process. The health of the soil is the health of the people. The foundation of our health is the organic diversity contained in our food. Where the soil is rich in organic wealth, there will be organic diversity. Excessive artificial irrigation is said to be the cause of destruction of civilizations as Mesopotamia, Assyria, and Babylon. Due to the increase of measure of salinity in the oil, as a result of irrigation, the soil became desert. As a result of modern civilization, 36 million hectares of land has become desert. While land degradation has occurred throughout history, the pace of acceleration has increased 30 to 35 times the historical rate, according to the United Nations. Over 100,000 kinds of chemical materials are put in the soil all over the world related to agriculture. On an average of 3 pesticides per day are newly made. Every year, at least 10,000 people die due to pesticides, and at least 375,000 farmers die by directly consuming the food materials produced by using these pesticides. Plastic materials which do not decay even if they remain in the soil for several thousands of years take away life from the soil. DDT, which is prohibited in America since 1972, is still being used in India. This is the reason for many fatal diseases among human beings and for the disappearance of many living species. A tree means a big organic collection. It is a system of abode. Many living beings depend on the tree: vines, parasites, birds, amphibians, reptiles, insects, spiders, and earthworms. When a tree is cut down, we lose a lot of these things. A fully grown banyan tree pumps out about 900 kilograms of oxygen into the atmosphere every hour. In our knowledge, the sweet basil is the only plant that pumps out ozone into the atmosphere, which is necessary for the formation of the ozone layer. The leaves of the mango tree attract the dust particles of the atmosphere and purify the air. If there is no forest, there is no air, or no water. Deserts are formed not because of the absence of rain, but because there is no forest to cause rain. 80% of the rain that falls in the forest descends into the soil of the forest. It takes almost months for this water to reach the rivers gradually, and our wells through the water springs. If there is no forest, the result is flood when it rains, and scorched earth when there is no rain. Trees are the natural means of irrigation. Grass groups are the reservoirs of the nature to preserve water. Banyan trees are the first claimants of the underground water. The trees on the banks of the rivers draw water from the river and give the same to the trees standing on the nearby row. Through different kinds of plants, water is passed on as if in a relay race, and thus water reaches on top of a hill quite safely. The kind of most important forest is the mangrove forest. In the marshy regions that are formed by the seashore and on the banks of rivers, various kinds of mangrove trees grow and form forests. The mangrove forests resist strong waves and reduce their violent force and protect the shore. The giant tsunami waves were formed in the Indian Ocean and attacked the seashores, including India. Danger was comparatively less whenever there were mangrove forests. The share of the mangrove forest in preserving the underground water pure without salt is incomparable. If no mangrove forests are there, then salt will seep through the soil and reach our wells. The rhythm of nature will be faulty, and life will become impossible on Earth. When underground water is exploited, two things happen. Banyan trees will disappear from that place, and the remaining water will be poisoned. When banyan trees disappear, gradually the foliage of the small plants beneath them will perish, and the whole place will become a desert. In the void created as a result of exploiting groundwater, oxygen from the atmosphere enters into it, and oxidizing will take place in the chemical salt. As a result, the remaining water becomes poisoned. The result of both of these is the destruction of life. The different melodies and colors are the peculiarities of the bird world. Each tree and cluster of foliage is the abode of one kind of bird. There are over 10,000 kinds of birds the whole world over. There are 1,107 different species of birds in the US, 686 in Canada, and 1,349 in India. When they feed on insects, rats, worms, and our farms are preserved. The share of work by birds, beetles, butterflies, and the pollination of flowers is incomparable. The use of pesticides cause the destruction of the race of birds, and the safety of our food is lost. The human body ecology is the continuation of global ecology. The creator of the universe has transformed the mineral kingdom into the plant kingdom and afterwards to the animal kingdom. The power that unites them is the life of God. Any science which does not take into account is imperfect. The responsibility of human beings is to preserve life and not to establish hegemony. It is the same life that remains in everything. Human beings are not above the laws of nature. Every law that moves nature is applicable to human beings too. God created the human body from one cell, within which, in accordance within the operation of nature, God has infused life. This knowledge and mutually related nature are ruptured when one transgresses natural laws. What is our real food according to the natural law? What we feel attracted to eat when we directly see a thing in nature, without the help of any instrument or without making any artificial change, is our food. For 10,000 years, until human beings discovered agriculture, the food of humankind was fruits and leaves only. Then he began eating plants of the field, later on non-vegetarian. Now we are changed into mercury eaters. About 150 to 200 million people die every year through starvation. 70% of grain produced in America alone is changed into fodder. With the grain required to produce meat, which an American eats, 8 people could be served food. With the grain and vegetables we get, if all Americans were to turn vegetarians, it is possible to serve food to half the population of the world. God created everything and blessed it all. Hence, the vital energy that controls everything is one. Everything comes under the same law. Human beings, too, are not above the law. If this one law is transgressed, we will have to pay the price. If we love ourselves, we need to love our abode. The welfare of this earth is our own welfare. When there is welfare in the world, I, who am part of it, too will be fine. When God's will comes into force on this earth, the kingdom of God, paradise, will be established here. Alfred Cohen, the Jewish rabbi, beautifully said this: "Let all of us be as merciful to life, the merciful children of the merciful Father." O God, who created the universe and everything in it, grant us the blessing to see nature with all its goodness and receive the products of nature with a grateful heart. Bless us, granting the mind to live, without in any way losing the universe you have given us, and sharing the gifts of nature with everyone. As a life witness, prepare a report regarding how to protect nature. Then the Lord looked upon the earth and filled it with good things. With all of the living beings he covered its surface, and into it they must return. Sirach chapter 16 verses 29 to 30. Answer the following questions in class or prepare for next week. Trees are the means of nature's irrigation. Why? Make clear the importance of the following in nature: atmosphere, water, soil, forests, trees, and birds. Why is it said that nature is to be protected? Proof.